Something is wrong with my friends. It all started a few days ago when everyone started talking about this strange app called Mal-O version 1.0.0. It was free on the App Store. No one knows where it came from. It has no reviews. When I typed in the name on the App Store, this is the description that came up. Never settle for those awkward feelings of being alone ever again. Mal-O is an exciting and interactive experience that will keep you engaged and intrigued. The anxiety of social situations can be nerve-wracking, but after just a few hours of Mal-O, you will soon forget about all those painful emotions of disappointment. Be part of the new craze that is quickly becoming the next social substitute. Remember, the more you participate, the more Mal-O will engage you. Your experience is completely up to you. Absolutely no ads. Enjoy. At first, it seemed harmless, like any other app, but 3 hours later, I got a text. It was a photo of a bedroom with something lurking in the closet. I thought it was just a lame prank trying to scare kids, but all my friends got photos too. And all of the photos were unique and different from one another. I couldn't reverse image search it. A few hours later, another photo. It's football bleachers, but something is sitting way in the back. It's that same creature. I kept receiving these images one after another without explanation. I just ignored it for the first day. But when I went back to school, my friends were acting differently. It started with subtle changes in their behavior. They became more distant, more withdrawn. They stopped laughing at our inside jokes. Their eyes, once filled with warmth and laughter, now seemed empty, devoid of any emotion. It wasn't obvious at first, but as the day continued, it became clear that something was wrong. I started receiving photos of places that I've been to in real life. It was my homeroom class, the arcade I always go to, the field I practice lacrosse at. And they all had that thing in them. It was just sitting there. It's like I can't get the image of this thing out of my head. I tried talking to my friends to see if they were seeing the same things, but they brushed me off, saying they were just tired or stressed. They wouldn't talk about the app. They seemed angry, almost. Something was wrong. There was something sinister lurking beneath the surface. Last night, things took a turn for the worse. I was playing a video game when I got a text with an image of the grocery store that I was at earlier that day. How does this app know where I was just a few hours earlier? I got a text a few hours later, and it was my uncle's house. The outside of the house with the address and everything. There the creature was, sitting in the background, looking. I turned off my phone immediately. Just this morning, you won't believe it. It got worse. I turned my phone on and I refused to check my messages. I just want to act like everything was normal. I was sitting at my desk doing homework and my phone vibrated. My heart rate sped up. I started to panic. I couldn't take it. I looked at my phone to break the tension of what I was feeling. There had to be something to fix all of this. Then my eyes met the photo. It was me. It was me sitting at my desk. And in the background of the photo, there he was. The creature. My breath got quicker, my chest painfully throbbing. I was crying. I panicked. I couldn't even make a sound. My mouth was open, but nothing came out. I haven't felt this way before. I sat on my bed, staring at the door, waiting for something to happen. The creature was behind me in the photo, but so far he was nowhere to be seen. I prayed and prayed, sitting on my bed, that nothing would come, that my phone would stop receiving these disturbing photos. I sat in my room the entire day, waiting for my nightmares to become true. The sun went down, and there I was, alone in my home, waiting. I was frozen. Was I going to die here? Just waiting for something to take me? I don't know. The sun is starting to go up, and as I write this, I refuse to look up. My eyes are glued to the page, writing as long as I can, because I know that when I look up, that creature, that monster, that beast was going to be there. It would be sitting in the corner of my room. Who knows when this will end? Who knows when I will work up the courage to look up from my page and fight this anomaly that has infested my life. I don't know how to put into words what happened to me tonight. My hands are still shaking as I write this, and every noise outside my window makes me jump, thinking it might be him. But I need to document it to make sense of the horror that I just experienced. It started like any other evening. I was walking home from work, and it was getting dark. It was cold, and a sense of unease settled in the pit of my stomach. Something was telling me that I just needed to be home. I was walking at a fairly quick pace, but it wasn't fast enough. I should have listened to my instincts, turned back, and found another route home. But I didn't. I took the normal route home. Take a right on Flasher Street, walk 2 blocks, turn on Knock Knock Boulevard, make the first right, and then I'm home. It's easy. I do it every night. As I turned the corner on Flasher, I saw him standing there, the figure of a man cloaked in darkness. I had already started walking in his direction. It would be too obvious if I turned away at this point. I couldn't see his face, but he was tall. The street never looked this dark before. I couldn't even make out who it was. Funny enough, I thought I saw a huge beak or some kind of hat attached to his head. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light, my mind messing with me. But when he took one step towards me, into the faint glow of the broken street lamp, I saw him for what he truly was. His face, fully obscured by a leather mask, with big eyes and this big beak. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest as fear gripped me tight. His eyes bore into mine, as if he held the secrets of the universe within them. It felt like a black hole. It felt like I was looking into the eyes of death. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run for help, but my body refused to move, paralyzed by this grip, telling me to stay. I kept telling myself that he was friendly. He didn't invade my space. I should say hello. These thoughts were not my own. I truly just wanted to run. But he approached slowly, his footsteps echoing in the silence of the night, his big black boots slowly inching one at a time. He reached out a hand slowly, a hand covered with a leather glove, and I took it. His touch paralyzed me. I have never felt such an energy from any person in my life. And then he spoke. His voice, as soft as a whisper in the wind. He talked of this pestilence that plagued the world. Pestilence. Almost like some kind of sickness or disease. I felt his breath through the mask. He said that he had a duty to cure those infected with this pestilence. This was his mission, and I was just another one of his lucky patients. I didn't understand his words, and I didn't want to. My mind was just frozen in time, and all I knew was that I needed to get away from him so I could escape the nightmare unfolding before me. This complete control over my life, over myself, a control that I have never felt from anyone. And for a second, I thought I broke from his power. I prepared to lunge and run wherever I could. But it was almost like he read my thoughts, and before I could make a move, he lunged forward, his grip like a vice tight around my wrist. I screamed, the sound echoing through the empty streets as I struggled against his hold. But it was no use. He was too strong, his grip unyielding as he dragged me towards a place I wasn't familiar with. My legs are just sliding across the concrete as the bones in my wrist crack. I slowly start fading from consciousness. All I see is black. I don't know how long I was unconscious. I only know that when I woke, I was lying on the cold pavement, alone. The sun had come up, but it was early. Too early for anyone to see what happened. My head throbbed as I scrambled to my feet, my body aching and bruised, not a single soul in sight. I stumbled home, my mind reeling with fear and confusion. What had happened to me? Who was that? It has only been hours since I woke up on the side of the road. Any moment, I might understand the true effect that this man had on me. But for now, I wait. I sit in my bedroom, skipping work, ignoring phone calls. I wait because I know he is coming. It's been about a week since we stumbled upon that weird place in the woods, the one everyone's talking about now. I still can't shake off the chills that I get when I think about it. We were just a bunch of curious kids, bored out of our minds, looking for an adventure to break the monotony of small-town life. It was Jonah who heard about the abandoned house deep in the forest, hidden from the prying eyes of the world. We thought it'd be fun to check it out, like some sort of initiation into adulthood. The air felt different as we stepped into the woods that evening. The trees seemed to watch us, and the shadows danced around us, casting eerie shapes on the forest floor. But we were too excited to pay much attention to the warning signs that nature was throwing our way. I wish I could go back and tell myself to leave. The house itself was nothing like we expected. It looked ancient, its windows shattered, and its walls covered in layers of moss and ivy. The door creaked open, as if inviting us in, and against our better judgment, we went. My friend Hunter wouldn't take it seriously. He would scream at the top of his lungs, knocking on the wooden walls and stomping his feet on the ground. He knew it was just an abandoned building. I knew it was something worse. Inside, it was even creepier. Dust coated every surface, and the air was thick with the smell of decay. But what caught our attention was the strange symbols etched into the walls, symbols we couldn't decipher, but felt a primal fear stirring within us. It was a myriad of lines and curves intersecting. We saw them in more than one place around the house that night. We explored every corner, our flashlights cutting through the darkness like knives. Every turn revealed more of the house, seemingly expanding into infinite nothingness. I couldn't retrace my steps. I couldn't find a dead end. The house just kept revealing itself. It was incredible. It was terrifying. But it never got bad enough where I would leave. It felt like the house was waiting to be explored. I was in one of the bedrooms, running my hands across the faded wallpaper. That's when we found it. A room hidden behind a false wall. It was like stepping into another world. The walls glowed with an otherworldly light, and strange contraptions littered the room. These devices, I didn't recognize them. They looked like old computers, but with buttons that I've never seen before. I wish we had turned back then, but curiosity got the better of us. Or should I say, curiosity got the better of Hunter, who reached out to touch one of the devices. "Houston, we have a problem." "These nuts," he screamed, as it echoed throughout the building. He started pushing the buttons, carelessly. The room started shaking, the ground beneath us trembling with fury. Lights flashing, alarms blaring, drowning out our screams. I remember the panic, the desperation clawing at my throat as I tried to make sense of what was happening. I remember looking over at Jonah and seeing him cry and moan like I've never seen before. It's like we were blinded by the house, unable to move. And then it happened. A deafening explosion tore through the air, ripping everything apart. I felt myself being thrown across the room, my body slamming into the wall with a sickening thud. Everything went black. When I came to, everything was a blur. Smoke filled the air, and debris littered the ground. And amidst it all, I saw him, Hunter, lying motionless on the floor. I wish I could say he looked peaceful, but he didn't. He was mutilated. His body was twisted at odd angles, blood continuously pooling beneath him. Felt like I was in a horror movie, and the realization sunk in that he was gone, taken from us in an instant, ripped to shreds by whatever beast controlled this building. We stumbled out of that accursed house, our hearts heavy with grief and guilt. Jonah couldn't say a single word. He was frozen with fear and shock. We should have known better. We should have listened to the warnings. But now it's too late. Hunter is gone, and we're left to pick up the pieces of our shattered lives, haunted by the memory of that fateful day in the woods. Just a few days ago, the police went over to the cabin that we claimed we saw, the cabin that killed Hunter. When the police arrived, the house, it was nowhere to be seen. The broken wood, the seared walls, scattered across the forest floor. They ceased to exist. The evidence of Hunter's death ceased to exist. We were the only evidence that was left that night after Hunter disappeared. Just next week, I'll be going to court. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't even know if I believe myself in my story for how it happened.